I guess you can watch it on YouTube at another time. So hello, my name is Marius and I'm part of the Young Changemakers crew. And we are a group of young people trying to spread an outreach of interest in going to the theatre for people aged 18 to 25 specifically, so that we can start a new audience of theatre and get them interested in going. And we're doing that via Zoom this time. We're starting with, we had a session on class a few weeks ago with Paul Bradshaw. We had a session on race with David Gilbert. We had a session on sexuality with Kelly Jones. And tonight we've got Jordan Gray, which is going to be talking about gender and tackling your gender identity throughout the industry that we're all in. So that'll be really good. And I think that's it. I think we're gonna start, Jordan, if you're okay with that.
Indeed, why not? Best time than ever to start, especially because it precedes your introduction. Hello, good evening, Marius, thank you. Hello, everybody, for joining us. Internet, hello, Internet, you sexy little fibre optic sausage. How are we? All right, give us a wave if you're fine. Hey, that was all right, that's nice. Don't think I can't see you, you little rectangular bastards. Hello, all right. So, full disclosure, I am a comedian. We're sort of used more to like 5-minute sprints. An hour probably feels like a very long time to be looking at this face and listening to these words. What I'm endeavour to do is weave in a little bit of comedy throughout the evening just to pep things up, keep things going. I'm going to be talking about myself and my own career in this industry. I'm going to also try and weave in some ideas, just some little sort of tips and tricks about transferable skills, how and when to pivot your idea to a different medium, and talk about nepotism versus meritocracy, collaboration versus compromise, and the importance of the story behind a story. First of all, just ladies and gentlemen, theydies and gentle thems, eithers, neithers, and all you sexy little something in betweeners. Hello. What I just done there was an incredibly gender inclusive introduction. All right. Lesson number 1, everyone's invited to the party, right? It's really important. Got to stop thinking about gender as male and female. I would say that gender, the idea of gender is a lot more like the idea of the Hemsworth brothers. Deep down, we all know there's more than 2, but it's very difficult to be more specific than that at any given moment. Also, I think we should stop confusing the word gender with the word genital. Start thinking of genitals more like belly buttons. Anyone can have an innie or an outie. That's what I like to say. Hello, of course, my name is Jordan Gray. I mean, now that I'm here, I'll be honest, I feel like I should have dressed up a little bit more for the occasion. But they do say dress for the job you want. And I don't really want one, if I'm being honest with you. But if I had to choose one, I would choose talking to you all right now. Some of you I've noticed. Hello, everybody. Hello, Heather, Shruti, Jess and Ross. Hello, James. Hello, Hunter. Some of you might have showed up for some stand-up comedy. It's going to be a long haul. I'm going to, as I say, if you just joined, I'm going to slip it in. But this is a talk about gender and how it affects us in our industry. So on behalf of the Queen's Theatre, for Young Changemakers, Marius and myself, we welcome you. Let's kick off, I suppose. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I played Oliver Twist when I was 8 years old, so that's something. I was Hamlet when I was 15, never forget Hamlet. And then after 10 years as an independent recording artist, under the stage name Tall Dark Friend, don't ask me what it means, I didn't know then and I don't know now. I was the first ever transgender contestant on a show called The Voice in 2016. Just for a moment, why don't you unmute your microphones, and by way of applause, you can tell me who saw me on The Voice. So everybody unmute and applaud if you saw me on The Voice. Right, that's an underwhelming response. To be honest with you, I'll tell you what, let's try that again with my feelings in mind, shall we? Right, let's try it again. Who saw me on The Voice? Yeah, there you are, I knew you'd seen it. Yeah. That's you can unmute. You can self-applaud now. It's fine. You can unmute. I made it all the way to the semi-finals without a tragic backstory, so that's nice. Presumably, this situation was tragic enough for the producers over at BBC One. It's less of a sob story and more of a knob story in my case. After The Voice, I left. I fell in love with comedy. I took my first hour to Edinburgh Fringe in 2018. A year later, I created, co-starred and sold a show to Comedy Central UK called Transaction, and now I'm very fortunate to be in that world of screenwriting. I basically make my living in writers' rooms and selling and writing comedy. And don't tell anybody, but Transaction, it looks like that's on its way to a full program as well. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. So it's all very exciting. It's lovely to meet you all. Important thing to get out of the way. I am a transgender individual. All that means, but I mean, this is probably the last room in the world where that phrase needs explaining. But I don't know, maybe you were brought along by a friend this evening and you're thinking, some of these women are very tall nowadays. What's going on? All it means to be transgender, it means that I used to be miserable and now I'm very, very happy with my life. That's all it is. That's the same thing I tell children. It's the same thing I tell anybody. That's who I am as a person. There are a lot. Hello, new people. Ipsita Dey. That's like a Latin hieroglyph. Hello. Being a transgender person, there are a lot of misconceptions about us as people. Don't worry if you're unsure. None of your misconceptions will ever be as adorable as my little granddad, who told my nan that I was now one of them Transylvanians. So that's adorable. Yes, that's me. Hello. All right, welcome. I think there is a big misconception about transgender people that for some reason we are uniquely qualified to talk to both men and women equally on certain subjects, because for some reason people seem to think that we have a foot in both camps, like I'm half a man and half a lady. It's a similar criticism and confusing thing faced by the world's bisexual people, half gay, half straight, or mixed race people, half black, half white, or penguins, half a duck and half a concierge, right? But it doesn't really work like that. It's a double-edged sword at best. For example, gentlemen in the room, like most of you, I don't particularly know where the clitoris is either. But unlike most of you, I am at least willing to swallow my pride and ask for directions once in a while. And ladies in the room, I don't particularly enjoy receiving pictures of willies on my phone either. But unlike most of you, I am able to aggressively reciprocate by way of a deterrent. So that's nice to have that in the arsenal. I'm looking at a little file here, but you can still see me, can't you? Give us a wave if you can. Yes, all right, excellent, cool. Here we are. So yes, that's me, that's who I am. I want to talk first about the idea of the story behind the story. We've got very strong ideas of what men and women, or males and females, are and how they play into story. What I mean by the story behind the story is the idea, the skill of garnering an interest in your project or your production, or indeed yourself as an entity, by embracing the unique set of struggles that got you there in the first place. You know, people love Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds by the Beatles, but then when you hear they wrote it on acid, how very fascinating and unusual, and it makes it, I don't know, it imbues it with a certain something else. The story behind the story is very important, and learning to utilize that in your own life, what makes you special, what makes your production special, is an incredibly fascinating subject. In regards to gender, a very famous author called Joseph Campbell, he wrote a book, it was called Hero with 1,000 Faces. He coined the idea, popularized the idea of something called a monomyth. Today, we might call that the hero's journey. It's essentially the idea that at the core of every single story is the same story, whether it's Jesus Christ or Luke Skywalker, or indeed any of us in this gallery. The idea that at every core of every story, there is a hero's journey. A hero is in a certain situation, they want something, they go after it, they enter an unusual and strange world, they have obstacles they have to overcome, they get the thing that they want, but at a price, and then they return to our world with that thing, and it's almost a gift that they can give to the rest of us, whether it's an artifact or in some sort of knowledge. The thing about being a transgender person or a gender non-conforming person is that we've undergone that incredible transformation, but we didn't have to go anywhere to get it. It's not like I went up a mountain and I come down with a pair of tits. It's like, I'm here, I was just here. And I changed in front of people. And I suspect that is why people find gender non-conforming people, it's almost like we've skipped a certain part of the hero's journey. And we're so addicted to the idea of this story. We use it when we tell people that we've been to the shops to get a pint of milk. We structure all of our stories with the same structure. And if one person skips that, it makes people uneasy. I say, as well, I suppose whatever gender you represent or you present as, that it's important to not be ashamed to be skipping out certain parts of that story. It's a tired myth, and we're sort of getting past it a little bit at a time. I now will continue what I'm saying as I scroll. It is not necessarily the advice I'd give everybody. If your career is struggling, don't necessarily change your gender. I say change and not swap, because again, swap implies that you've only got two choices, but of course there are many. There is a pantheon of genders out there. I wouldn't say if your production is suffering, or you know that things aren't going well, that changing your gender is the way forward. But I would be remiss and naive if I didn't think that me changing my gender certainly piqued people's curiosity, which is not necessarily a good thing. I was thrust into a lot of opportunities that I didn't necessarily deserve, or that I wasn't necessarily qualified for, but in a nice way, it forced me to kind of up my game. What it did, of course, do, and it's the same for anybody that is exploring themselves and finally finds out who they are, it did allow me to put my best foot forward and be the best version of myself, and I suppose to be the best storyteller that I could be. So that's nice. How are we doing so far? Is my rambling getting through to? This is all right. Little nods. That's nice. Oh, look at your lovely thumbs. What an amazing array of thumbs. I just seen, Heather, your thumbs point in different directions. I don't need to single you out, but that's like you've got quadrilateral thumbs, mate. I'm loving that. All right. I'm going to be looking at all of your thumbs throughout the rest of the evening. Let's talk about gender and an overview of what gender is in the industry. One of my favorite writers is Tina Fey. She released a book, and I'm an audiobook person. It's a fantastic audiobook called Bossy Pants, in which she explains a very important part of gender in this industry. It's very simple. It's right there in the title, Bossy Pants. The idea, particularly in the creative industry, that men that put themselves out there, you know, are considered tenacious, go-getters. You know, these men are heroes. Women putting themselves out there are often referred to as bossy, opinionated, difficult to work with. It's a very, very strange phenomenon that we're expected to downplay our achievements as well as women. There's a fantastic quote by I'm going to get it up now, Simone Biles. I do believe she's a world-class gymnast, US gymnast. And it's a fantastic, it says what it says on the tin. She says, if I say I'm the best gymnast there is, the reaction is, oh, she's cocky. No, the facts are literally on the paper. I've won 5 world titles. The idea that for some reason we're expected to downplay ourselves. Women just sort of have to be undeniable to be considered anything at all. That's why people like Beyonce, Lady Gaga, Annie Leibovitz, and Meryl Streep exist, arguably literally the best in their field. Just to be able to compete, you have to be so outstanding and undeniable that people can't say that you're bossy. They just say that you are a phenomenon. I'll talk a little bit more about Tina Fey later. I'm going to work through my own personal career from music all the way to where I am now as a staff writer and ideally one day a showrunner. But literally, I have had men. Perhaps this is an example. Lads in the room, bless you little cotton willies. Like you're all out there, right? And I love you, lads. I don't mean at any point to belittle or begrudge. I love men. Think they're fantastic. We each serve our own purposes. Please don't take anything I say as a direct hit. Marius is sitting there, he's very pensive, looking at me like, don't worry, mate. It's all nice. I would just say that as women in this industry, again, perhaps more than any other industry, we are expected to stand there and let men explain stuff to us. Oftentimes, and I'll be honest from personal experience, they are, not you, Marius, not you, bless it. He's like, what have I done? Technicians. There is an old cliche about boys and their toys, and personally from my experience, whether it's on set or performing music on a stage, technicians tend to be male, and they tend to be very proud of what they do, and they like explaining it to you from start to finish. I can't count the amount of times that I've had to sit there and listen to a sound engineer or a stage engineer or somebody miking me up for a shot explaining what's going to happen and how sound travels down a wire and comes out the other end. Mansplaining, of course, is the term that you'll hear. And I always think, oh, I wish I had the balls to explain that I know what's going on. And then I remember, oh, I have. So it's a little phenomenon I like to call transplaining, and it stops men in their tracks. It's new. I don't recommend that you all use it. You're probably not all technically qualified. Yeah, but the times they are changing in that regard. There is a pervasive idea in our industry, and it's the reason why a lot of, I suppose, heterosexual men don't enter the industry in the first place. It's undeniable the numbers are predominantly female and of non-heterosexual sexuality. It's because we've grown up in a patriarchal society. I don't know if you noticed. And one of the big things about the patriarchy and those values is that self-expression is somehow considered a weakness, of course. And since a patriarchal society considers the feminine, the female, to be secondary, it's this idea that self-expression is secondary, is somehow less than. So it's a cliche. A lot of people, it's amazing what you notice, people talking about the industry, just they assume the idea is that if you are a man in this industry, then you must be homosexual or otherwise, because of course that's the same thing, ain't it, as being a lady. One thing I've learned being a transgender person, I don't know if I mentioned, is that you really do learn a lot about what people think on a core level. Very, very clever people, very woke people. My doctor, right? The man that's prescribing me the estrogen that goes into my body. When I went there on my first day for a consultation, he says to me, don't worry, you'll still, he says, don't worry, you'll still be able to play football. I've never kicked a ball in my life. I mean, only in self-defense. Like, I've no idea what's going on. I pretend I know what's happening when it comes on the screen. That's a doctor. Just the idea that even people that, you know, are supposed to be an authority on this situation, at some very strange core level, we've been conditioned to think that gender and sexuality are intrinsically linked. And I've noticed that a lot in this industry. As I mentioned at the beginning, I was a transgender contestant on The Voice. Essentially, what that makes me is an LGBTQIXY Z-list celebrity. There's a lot that comes with that. One of those things is that you're offered a lot of pantos. You get to do a lot of pantos, and that's where I feel like I can connect with you, because I understand that many of you in this room are theatre goers. I know you don't have your cameras on, but give us a wave if you're of the theatre variety. Yeah, hello, there he is, his little hand. Yeah, that's how theatre people wave. Hello. Oh, a little thumbs up and everything. There's emojis all over the place. It's splashing about. I've been in panto for the last 3 years. I'm looking forward to, you know, fingers crossed it happens again in January. The reason I bring it up is because this year I was cast in the role of the villain, which essentially would have been far better suited for an incredibly charismatic drag queen. Very sort of old school camp villain. We all know that panto is sort of about 50 years behind in terms of its representation of gender and race and sexuality. But it's very, very strange to be up there doing these silly voices and these silly gestures and making jokes about, oh, matron. And there was not a second thought from the director that this was just a normal thing to do, to put a transgender lady in the place of a drag queen. I suppose that's something that perhaps, you know, we've got a lot of cisgender ladies listening, thinking, I would have loved that part. What are you complaining about? We always get typecast as the sort of the petite, the princess, you know. Well, yeah, I suppose you do. I don't really have an answer for that. It's just how things are. One lady's mountains are another lady's molehills, as Shakira maybe said. I don't remember. Just a quick clarification. Of course, I'm not a drag queen. If anybody ever asks me what the difference is between drag and trans, one, of course, is performative. The other is your life. The performance ended when I stopped pretending to be a man. Very, very easy way to clarify is I always say, look me in the eye. Say, look right there, look in my eyeball. Now look around my eyes. Do you notice anything unusual? Of course, the answer is no. And therein lies the truth. The difference between a drag queen and a transgender woman is that if I was a drag queen, do you really think I would have turned up tonight looking this shit? Right? Drag queens are beautiful. I'm just not one of them. The other thing, of course, about being an LGBTQIXYZ list celebrity is that I am invited to do lovely things like this, to involve myself in panels about inclusivity, to talk about things on that level, because people for some reason think I'm qualified. Or I'll just keep looking at Marius's face and eyes to see if he thinks he's made a mistake. So what the F is Russell Brand doing here, talking about what it means to be a lady? But he seems to, he's nodding along. So yeah, it's fine. We're doing all right. I suppose at this point, oh yes, and one other little thing, a general thing, and this is something that I expect some of you will have already experienced, and I hope that you all do get to experience, is the lovely feeling of adulation that you get from doing your thing creatively, and the response from fans. That response is very, very different depending if you are in the masculine or feminine sphere. It's very, very difficult. I personally have found that this is what a self-indulgent thing to come on there and do. Now, listen, let me talk to you about my fans. Okay, let me talk to you about my fans, guys. You don't care. I'm going to tell you anyway. It's very bittersweet being praised as a woman, particularly when the first thing that tends to come out of people's mouths, dependent on the medium, doesn't matter if you just performed music or gave a dramatic reading or an interpretive dance. It tends to be very, very beautiful up there. Wow, what a beautiful, beautiful facade. I say it is very bittersweet. No casting, no aspersions on you guys. I know we've got the good eggs in this room right now, but there are a few bad eggs that spoil it for the rest of us, and it does tend to be very, very slimy, and not overall, but it can be. Just feels like there is. It's an opportunity for another agenda to arise, and that's something that I hope nobody has to deal with. But it's certainly something that is poignant to the conversation about gender in our industry. Oh, I'm smashing this. Doing well good, ain't I? Yeah. Oh, that's very sweet of you to nod. You don't actually have to agree with me. I'm just being an idiot. But oh, look at that. Oh, thank you. I'm taking that. Let me just screenshot all of these thumbs up. Right. Let's talk about me. Like we haven't been doing that already for the last 20 minutes. I started my career. I come out of college and I went straight into music. I was a performing recording artist for 10 years, as I say, under the stage name Tall Dark Friend. The idea being that I was kind of like a tall dark stranger. You'll hear this idea in the crystal ball of the tall dark stranger, but your friend, I'm your mate. Thank you, Louie. Thank you very much indeed. That's very kind of you. Are you a fan? We'll talk later. No? Was that a... Yeah, I was one of those. I thought it was kind of a, well, we'll see. Tall Dark Friend for 10 years. I was very blessed to have played Europe as many times as I can count, which is 3. I've done Europe a few times. I recorded 6 independent albums. I'd co-directed 7 independent music videos. They're all available. The quality varies, I'll be honest with you, but they're all online for you to check out if you like. The idea, as I say, of Tall Dark Friend, this, you know what it was? It was all those characters in films that looked like the bad guy, but were actually the good guy. We're talking about your Edward Scissorhands and your I don't know, that vampire out of Twilight, the sparkly man. And I suppose even at that sort of early age, you're all what, 12? At the age of maybe 18, 19 years old, the idea of the story behind the story was very important. And I didn't even realize that I was laying the groundwork for this transformative thing. I was the musical Jekyll and Hyde, this transforming thing, and here I am now, a completely different gender. I'd set myself up for that transformative experience, and it's, yeah, that's always been a huge part of my life. The music industry is different from your industry, and indeed the television industry. I was working exclusively for men, all men. I don't think I saw a lady except out there in the audience. It does come with a certain vibe. I think that men and women, as much as it's a thorny subject to talk about, there are genetic predispositions. Men tend to run the technical side of things. That is absolutely not to say that it's not a job that women can't do, and indeed do better. It's just a job that men gravitate towards, as I say, boys and their toys. Whereas women, on the whole, as from my experience, tend to be able to harbour an incredibly cohesive and calming atmosphere on set and in professional spaces. There tends to be very little. There's a very high fidelity communication between females, and that's because of 100,000 years of genetics. Females did tend to be the ones keeping things together in the camp while the men went off and did whatever they were doing. And I do feel like that has transferred. But as I say, music, all lads, all completely men. I transitioned at the age of 24. I'd been doing music for about 6 years, and the dynamic did change very, very quickly. I don't think I was necessarily considered a woman straight away. Skepticism did continue to reign from the men that I was working for. I sort of become a bit of a novelty, I think, very, very quickly learned. I was like the modern day equivalent of the bearded lady, which, right, I'm going to tell you a story. Don't tell anybody this story that I'm telling you right now, but this happened. This is a thing that happened in my life. I was performing at a show on New Year's Eve in Soho. It's a very trendy place to be playing music on a New Year's Eve. And I thought, like, my transgender status here at this place, it was certainly a part of the act. It was even a part of the introduction, which is a very weird way to bring somebody on stage. And I thought, why not commit to that? Here I am on the stage, I'm playing the piano, I'm doing my songs, the end of the night comes. And I thought, well, wouldn't it be a laugh to, in my final moments, give a little C major crescendo and just tap top C with the end of my willy? I thought that'd be a good laugh. I thought everyone would get a good laugh out of it. And it went down fine. At that moment, a young gentleman, I think he's older than me to be fair, a man with proportional dwarfism dressed like Father Christmas was standing. This is a real thing that happened. I didn't dream this. He was standing at the end of the keyboard, and we just, can't believe I'm telling you the story. We looked each other in the eyes as I'm there holding the protrusion, top C, and we just had this lovely moment where we were like, I wonder if we're the people exploiting this situation, or if they're exploiting us, this sort of modern day equivalent of the bearded lady and the half man coming together in this moment. It's a very unusual tableau. Don't tell anybody that story. Don't tell anybody that happened. And if you do, I'm going to deny it, right? But that's a real thing that happened to me in my career. And it's something you've all got to look forward to. That's that. So then, right, okay, here we go. Let's keep things moving along. After 10 years in my chosen profession as a recording artist, I entered The Voice. I liked The Voice. It was good. I didn't have any complaints. It was a fantastic experience. I got no horror stories. It did teach me a lot about gender. You might not think that, being a reality. I've been on reality television before. I should mention, full disclosure, I was on a dating show when I was about 22. It was called Sing Date. I didn't realize it was a dating show until I showed up. I thought it was a singing show, as half the title would imply. You had to sing with people over webcam, and if you were good enough, you went on a date. That happened. That, again, I'm just giving you this. I'm disclosing this information to you, so you know I wasn't always this incredible. The Voice, it did teach me a lot about gender. Number one, having worked in music for 10 years, I did not see a male executive in my entire experience. It was females all the way up the bill. It was an incredible and wonderful, illuminating experience to be able to just all the way up the chain, female department heads. And I think that's certainly true of television. If you're theatre people, that's something that I imagine many of you are looking forward to, or your aspirations do lay in transcending stage and screen and jumping back between the two of them. TV is a women's industry, and I will defend that until the day I die. The Voice also taught me, as I have mentioned, the importance of the story behind the story. It's the most powerful tool. If it's the only thing you take away from this TED Talk this evening, it's the story behind the story is incredibly important. And my story, of course, being on a show like that, is my changing of gender. That's unavoidable. It's what everyone was interested in. They told me you're going to be the first ever transgender person on The Voice. I do get a quid, by the way, every time I say the word transgender, in case you're wondering. They told me you're going to be the first trans person ever on The Voice. That's going to come with a lot of stick. It's going to come with a lot of pressure. I quite enjoyed the pressure, but essentially what happens if you are a member of any minority, be that gender, sexual, religious, ethnic, if you go on reality television, I don't know if any of you have aspirations to do that, you will become a political object very quickly, sort of become the talking point of the week. A very, very strange thing I noticed straight away after my very first audition was that don't ever read the YouTube comments. Don't ever look at the comments if you appear on reality television. what I noticed exclusively, this is not an exaggeration, it was a 50-50 split between your thumbs up and your thumbs down. What was very, very fascinating was that all of the affirmative comments were, she's wonderful, she's amazing, what a lovely voice she has. All of the negative ones, and I say it's about 50-50, were, he's shit, he's awful, this fella's crap. That can't be a coincidence. That's got to say something about the society that we live in, that people find it very difficult perhaps to separate their political beliefs or their political affiliations from the artists that they are looking at. It was a very painful thing to experience, but it taught me a lot about gender, just in that very, very moment, that it's such a pervasive idea that it will even affect people's knee-jerk reaction at something they could otherwise enjoy. You might think that, because I transitioned at 24, which meant I got 24 good years of male privilege that I can't deny. I'm not going to say that just didn't happen. Like, you might think, oh, Jordan, you're just getting into being a woman just as feminism's getting good again, like the 5th season of The Walking Dead. You just got in when it's getting good. You're right. I don't have the right to claim that I grew up with the same pressures on me as anyone cisgender women, born a woman, still a woman kind of women, or people that transition from male to female at an early age. I didn't have that. So I'll put myself out there and I'll say that I'm not saying at any point that I had to experience that, like many of you watching. But for it to all come at once in a massive set of YouTube comments was incredibly painful. I've now been talking for maybe half an hour. It seems like, is that about right now? I reckon that's a good segue to cut me off with a little bit of a clip from the aforementioned program, the one I just mentioned, that program being The Voice. If it please the court, Marius is going to play a little clip of you now, of me on that show, just doing a bloody good job. And then we can talk about it after, because you might be thinking, who are you? We don't know who you are. You'll watch this and then you'll realise I'm definitely the authority on any situation in life. Here we go. This is me on The Voice.
Thanks, Jordan. If it is a little bit laggy, guys, just after the session, you can go onto YouTube and type in Jordan Gray, The Voice, and you'll be able to find it there. But I hope it should be okay. I hope my Wi-Fi is good.
Can't hear it, Marius.
Marius, my dear, I think you're muted, and thus the sound is not traversing. Not that the visual element isn't also incredible, but sound together, synergized. That'd be great.
All good?
Yes.
Now I stood in your shadow. Now watched it grow. And it's shaken and it's driven me. Let me know. They hold the 45 in the paper bathrooms. Started off the grass around summer and sun. 'Cause you're a real dumb kid. Maybe now, baby. Maybe now, baby. I'll do things I should have did. I'll do what I should have done.
Well, I mean, I don't know about you lot. If you felt like standing and applauding, that'd be fine. You don't have to. That's not part of this. But I feel some sort of visual Look at that. Look at all these hands clapping in unison. Right. Thank you, Louie. Bless you. Thank you, Heather, Miranda, Shruti, Hunter, Shannon, Jess, Marius. There you are.
Sorry, how do you send that clap emoji? How's everyone doing that?
Somebody, right, this is important. I'm not moving on until Louie knows how to applaud me.
Go to reactions.
Reactions.
And then
I see. Great. Got it. There we are.
There we are. Thank you. Bless you. That's incredibly kind of you. I'm going to take all those, I'm going to stick them in my pocket, and I'm going to look at them later. I chose that performance for a very specific reason. It was the only performance that I gave on The Voice that that wasn't intuitively fused with the idea of gender. It's my favourite performance. First of all, got to sit down, which is always nice on live television. You never know what can go wrong in a pair of heels. I liked that. Also, did you notice Boy George said I was good? He said I was amazing, didn't he? Oh, Boy George, got to love him. My experience of The Voice from the very start to the very finish was incredibly infused with the idea of femininity, because they need to be able to sell that story to you through your screen as simply and quickly as possible. I started with a song by Bob Dylan called Just Like a Woman. I thought in the back of my mind that I was going to create this new transgender anthem. I thought I'd reappropriate those words. Didn't get a turn, if I'm honest. I didn't actually get a turn in my audition. I was the first contestant to ever not get a turn and then be brought back within the same season. Very fortunate that somebody on Paloma Faith's team disappeared, which now that I say it sounds really ominous. I hope that didn't have anything to do with me. Oh shit. I was brought onto Paloma's team. Paloma is the most intelligent person I've ever met in my life, the most diligent. She champions people. She's made it her life to champion people. And her experience of reality television as a judge was completely filled with microaggressions, which is a term I've only learned recently. I'm a little bit behind the times in that. But so basically an entire season is shot in 2 days, maybe 1 or 2 days. So you are likely to see the judges wearing the same clothes week in, week out. You've got Paloma Faith over here, then it's Boy George, Will.i.am, and the other one, the other lad from the Kaiser Chiefs. It was only Paloma that received comments online saying, Wilkie Wilson outside the Kaiser Chiefs. Paloma was the only one to receive comments such as, why is she wearing the same outfit every single week? Dirty cow. None of that was passed on to the gentlemen judges. We're not supposed to call them judges on the BBC. They are coaches. Only Paloma received that. And that was just the first in a big, long line of sort of mildly microaggressive discriminatory behaviour. The second song that I performed was a Kate Bush song. Now, if you seem quite young, as a general rule, you've all got nicer skin than I've got. So I assume that you're younger than I am. Kate Bush famously sings in a extreme falsetto falsetto voice. As a transgender lady, very difficult for me to pull off. So I had a little bit of a crying moment with Paloma, took her aside, and I says to her, mate, this is national television. I'm a transgender woman. Please don't make me sing a Kate Bush song, right? Because I'm going to sound like a parody of a female in front of the nation. I'm going to end up looking like I'm trying to pretend to be a woman, which a lot of people think I am trying to do, don't they? That's the whole point. And a very, very important thing she said to me that stuck with me for my whole life, she said, stop thinking about what other people think of you, number one. Stop thinking about gender and start thinking about what you sound like. Start thinking about what your voice sounds like. And it changed my whole perspective on the show and indeed my entire career. I'm a big fan of Johnny Cash. And even as a lady once in a while now, I feel like I might just bust out the old, because you're mine, I walk the line. I love it. I've had no cause to do that before, but ever since Paloma told me that it was all right, I thought, yeah, some ladies got voices like that. Nina Simone, for example. Last little thing to mention about The Voice and gender and how reality TV plays out. The semi-finals, I was with the costume department. Of course, there's so many different departments, all females. It was the most wonderful experience. Every department head, lovely female department heads. I was with the costume and they were fitting me for an outfit. And we were talking and she says, she's halfway through around this sort of area and she says, oh, typical Essex boy, ain't you? And I see in her eyes the moment where she got a little bit worried, and bless her little cotton socks. It's the most fantastic example of backtracking I've ever heard in my life. Rather than just acknowledge it and say, I'm so sorry, I meant Essex girl. She didn't do that. What she thought might be the better way of dealing with the situation is to pull back and start bringing up a lot of, trying to connect with me over a lot of typically female things. So she goes, Oh, you typical Essex boy, ain't you? I'm so sorry. Bloody bras, eh? What you and me, we know, don't we? Bloody bras. What are they like? Boys. Bloody boys. I could tell you some stories about boys. It's just getting worse and worse. And I swear to you, this is true. She goes, think bloody periods. Got my bloody period. I was like, you've missed the mark there, mate. That's definitely not something I can connect with you over. If I were to tell you that I got my period, something has clearly gone wrong down there. That is not my experience, but bless you for trying. That's very, very sweet. The semi-finals, they wanted to put me in a ball gown. I was the transgender contestant. I was on Team Paloma, the lady boss, the female coach. Which is what they saw her as. Why not stick me in a massive floaty ball gown, a la some sort of curly Disney princess? And to their credit, I said, no, thanks, I'm all right. I'll tell you what, this is prime time terrestrial TV. Why don't we make a statement right now and stick me in a lovely suit? Yeah, Annie Lennox wears a suit. What's her name? Ellen wears a bloody suit. They look quite dapper, don't they? Stick me in a suit. And to their credit, they made me this incredible fire apple red number that you can check out on YouTube. And again, I had such skepticism and cynicism going into a show like that, but right there in front of, I don't know what, 3.5 million people, I think it was per episode, they decided to take that chance, and it really did start conversations. I was reading about myself in magazines the other day about how a few days after, about how they've been very brave. That's a word people like to use about transgender people. I'm so bloody brave. I'm so brave for being here. That's what you lot like to come up and tell me in the toilets, you ladies. I just wanted to say you're very brave. Thanks, I am. I'm very brave. Thing is, though, when people tell you that you're very, very brave and beautiful all the time, you sort of just assume that to be an indisputable fact. And then I come out on stage and I say things like, hello, I'm Jordan, I'm beautiful, I'm really brave. And you lot are like, no, we decide. We decide if you're beautiful and brave. Just before the semi-finals, we had a day out with Paloma Faith. Again, I'm not just talking about The Voice, this is pertinent to the conversation about gender. And there were only ladies left on her team. It was myself and this young lady called Heather Cameron Hayes, who's got like an IQ of like 280 or something. She's like a genius. And we were out and about, and they said, well, every coach is going to take their remaining team out on a day, and we're going to film it, and we're going to show that. It's going to be great. And all the lads went off and did their laddie things, and we were sent out on an evening of high tea, to sit and have little cups of tea. And we're on the way in the cab, and Paloma's talking about, I kid you not, we're talking about the implications of quantum physics. She's talking about her favorite French cinema. We're talking about existentialism. And as soon as the cameras started rolling, they said, right, can we just get onto conversations about shoes now, please? This is the lady team. We need you to talk about, lady things, talk about makeup, talk about shoes. And it's one of the most joyful moments I've ever seen. Paloma just punched this man in the arm. Don't tell her I told you that. She just punched the camera guy in the arm. I think it was supposed to be playful, because that's the point. They saw us as these, I mean, not me, I'm like 6 foot tall, but they saw the female team as these sort of little delicate dolly birds. And I think that was a moment where Paloma was physically punching back at the system. She was raging against the machine. I've got immense respect for her for doing that. Again, don't let your little light go out. Don't downplay your achievements. She's an effing platinum award selling artist. She's more than just a woman, more than just like a woman. That was my experience on The Voice. Reality TV, I do want to just say this in case anyone was wondering, it's a fucking lottery win, all right? It doesn't require skill to get there. What it does, sorry for swearing, no, I'm not, fuck you. The idea of reality TV, the price of admission is putting yourself out there in the first place. You don't just get picked from the crowd. Nobody actually queues up for reality television. I promise you that. They look at the numbers on your website, they see you in a play, they see you doing your thing, and then you're brought on. And that's fine. That's absolutely fine. It's a manufactured thing. But please remember that reality TV is a lottery. I might not be here talking to you now were it not for that, because of the exposure. That doesn't make me qualified, as I can see in Marius's eyes. He's wondering why she's still going on about it, right? But I was on the telly. Don't make me actually qualified to be here. I see you writing that down, Miranda. Not qualified, crossing out everything that you've written so far. Bless your little cotton socks. Yeah, I just wanted to say that is an incredibly important thing. A young man came up to me once and said, how come Radiohead are famous if they were never on Britain's Got Talent or The X Factor? And a chill went down my spine and I punched him in the face. That didn't happen, that last bit, but it was yeah, it sort of got to me quite a lot. How on earth are Radiohead famous if they were never on Britain's Got Talent? So we've talked about my experiences as a musician, as a recording artist. I'm gonna tell you now, I don't know if it's self-indulgent, but it's a sad story. Don't get down, it's got a happy ending because I'm still alive, but it's difficult times after The Voice. I brought out a single. I don't know if you have, I'm not going to pretend any of you have heard of me. There's a song I wrote, it's called Platinum. It's shit. It was really shit. It cost £16,000 for a music video and a song. And what happened is I'd gone back to working for a lot of men. Love you, men. Love you guys. Love you so much. But I didn't have that same connection to these producers as I had before. A lot of these men sort of steamrolled my personal sense of expression, what I wanted to do. They turned my gender into a commodity, and we brought out this song that I think was supposed to be a celebration of femininity and the feminine sphere. It's shit, sure. It just sounds like everything else on the radio. And it's really disappointing. And us very stupidly, don't tell anybody I said this either, but very stupidly, we were aiming basically for the top 40. I didn't get it, and I walked out in front of a car. Which is very, I used to say it was a very selfish thing to do, a stupid thing to do. My wife accurately corrected me and said, no, that's a very selfish thing to do, Jordan. What you've done there is incredibly selfish. Stupid and all, but very, very selfish. And it's because this idea that I built everything up around this bubble, that if I didn't achieve that, then what was I worth? That's what all these, we sold the entire campaign of the single of, this is the first transgender person to reach the top 40. I don't think that's even true. I just think that that's what was being sold on. And in that moment, what happened, I walked out in front of this car, again, very selfish, don't try it at home. But obviously my heart wasn't particularly in it, because the car just ground to a very comfortable halt, because there's about 30 yards to get to me. It was almost sarcastically just stopped. It didn't even beep. It just sort of stopped. And I remember in that moment thinking, this is all just a big laugh, ain't it? This is all just a big silly laugh. And if I'm going to be a joke, I might as well be in on that joke. And I just fell in love in that moment with the idea that I'm going to pack all this silly music in. It's all manufactured. I want to be a comedian. I want to be a joker. And that's the moment I become a comedian. It took me about 6 months to tell a joke like on stage, but that was the moment that was seeded in me. Comedy is an incredible thing, because of course the cliche that you will hear from taxi drivers is that women just aren't funny. We just don't have the capacity to be funny. I can tell you on the front line, which is the best place to be in comedy. You don't want to be in a big stadium. You want to be right there in front of people. Women are pipping guys to the post. Guys, I love you. You're great. Think you're fantastic. Women are really holding their own. The reason is because they bloody have to. As I said before, they have to be undeniable. You've just got to be the best in your game just to make it across the finish line as a female. Comedy is an incredible thing. It allows you to break apart ideas of gender and expectation in all forms. I don't know, just to take a straw poll, hands up if anyone has considered stand-up comedy. There's a lot of transferable skills between theatre and comedy. Give us a little wave if you are a comedian. Ross, keep your hand down. I've seen you perform comedy. Bless it, look at his little, he's not happy. Anyone that thinks about doing comedy. There is a lot of transferable skills from theatre. The first one being that you're allowed to be on a stage. A lot of clubs are run by men. That's not a bad thing. I wish it didn't sound like I had any disdain in my voice. Love men, I think they're brilliant. A lot of clubs are run by men, and you might have read articles recently about how there's been a massive resurgence of women in comedy coming forward to talk about their negative experiences on the comedy circuit. Things are certainly changing, but The idea that you come from theatre means that you know that you're allowed to be there. You're supposed to be there. You don't have to work up to being on the stage. Your permission has been granted to you by virtue of you being alive and being able to hold a microphone. You're allowed to be there, male or female. And then I went ahead. I'm looking at the time and I realised, yes, this is a good time to do it. A year in comedy meant I was able to perform at Edinburgh Fringe. I might have been a little bit presumptuous to think it was good enough after a year to do an hour, but I've done that. And someone from Comedy Central came to see it. They liked. A year after that, we made a little something, a little pilot that was seen by the same person, and from that, I was granted the gift of being able to write and co-star in a series called Transaction for Comedy Central UK, which as of this year is up for a Broadcast Digital Awards. I'm not going to lie to you, it's just me with a different name and an outfit. My acting skills are not particularly broad, it's me. I've got the same haircut. Marius is going to play that for you now, just to give you an idea of the sort of thing I do with my time nowadays. And I hope you will all patiently enjoy it.
Here we go.
Hey, Olivia, are you going to come?
A little bit forward, but I like where your head's at.
Tom's birthday thing tomorrow. Are you going to come? Be nice to hang out.
Party? Tomorrow? Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm coming.
What, right now? TMI?
You having a party tomorrow night, yes or no?
Yes, but it's strictly lads only. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it would be frightfully transphobic of me to extend you an invitation. Plus, you tend to make everything about yourself, so...
Are we still going on about your nephew's birthday? Tom, it was fucking boring, mate. Not his fault, obviously. He's a baby. And that stripper didn't even charge us in the end. He just went home with a bit of quiche. Get over yourself. Where's the party?
We're going for Mexican.
No, we're not. I can't do spicy. You know that.
Again, lads only. Plus, spicy food is the only manly thing I can do, and you're not taking that away from me. Once a year, I go dish for dish with some of the lads from the day shift. Guess what they call me? Mike Spicen.
No, they don't. Look, number one, if you don't think I can hold my own at a sausage fest, then you have grossly misunderstood my anatomy. Number two, I think I've got a good thing going with Alan over there.
Alex.
Whatever, right? Think about it. Staff party, your birthday, out of uniform, dancing, yeah? Alcohol, inhibitions lowered, yeah? Travel lodge, 64 quid a night, bargain. Breakfast included? No, but that's not the point.
Oh, so there is a point.
The point is we're going to fuck like Chuckle Brothers. To me, to you. But here's the thing, as a transgender woman...
Oh, that's a new record.
As a transgender woman, my love-making options are fairly limited, all right? Without a God-given vagina, there's only one way in and one way out.
Not accounting for fellatio, I assume.
You assume correct. So I'm obliged to keep the back door squeaky, ain't I? Imagine how your bumhole feels after a bit of chili. Now imagine popping your willy up there. Not very nice, is it?
Look, can we not go at least one shift without you referencing your own anus? I feel like I can see it when I close my eyes.
Oh, I'm sorry, Tom. Do I disgust you? Does my transgender situation put you off your spicy man food?
Hey, I'm the one that organised the company crowdfunder for your boob job. I spent an entire afternoon hanging up pairs of pink balloons around the staff room.
Yes, and if you'd drawn nipples on them like I asked, I wouldn't have had to spend the entire afternoon explaining to Gustav that they were supposed to be tits and not testicles.
You're so ungrateful.
Ungrateful would be keeping them to myself. But they're out and about, aren't they? They belong to the people now.
Your boobs are not Lady Diana. You just gone a girls' night out.
With who? Beefy Linda? The woman who asks me 12 times a week if I'm going on RuPaul's Drag Race? Face it, mate, I'm a lone wolf, yeah? If there was another transgender person here, perhaps we could go on a transgender night out, but as you can see, I am the only one. That is my curse.
Well, you say that.
The fuck are you on about?
Well, you know, as a supervisor, I may or may not be privy to certain information, not that I'd ever disclose it.
Bollocks.
Again, not something I can discuss.
Who is it? Not talking about Nina off Bakery. She's not transgender, mate. She's just got big hands. Bloody hell, it's not you, is it? Tom, there can be only one of us.
All right, calm down. We're on Highlander.
Tom, transgender people, we're solitary creatures, yeah? We're like squids, all beautiful and misunderstood, floating through the abyss. Two squids collide in the dark. They've got to make a snap decision. Do I consume the other one, or are we going to mate? You put two transgender people on the same night shift, we're either going to fight or we're going to fuck. either way somebody's getting battered, please tell me who it is.
Well, I shouldn't really be doing this, but
Oh, that is bloody typical. I should go say something.
oh yeah, you definitely should, yeah.
Oi. You probably heard this was a trans-friendly place to work. Obviously, you clocked the goods. If you're thinking about tapping this up for a pair of these for yourself, forget it. You see these, mate? Silicone mesh. Same thing they use on the International Space Station. So yeah, I do technically qualify as a cyborg. I get it, right? You see me, you see the woman you want to be one day. Never going to happen. But since we're going to be working together, friendly bit of advice. Before having sex with a man, yeah, eat the spiciest thing you can find. That way, when he pulls into the drive, it will create a tingling sensation. You will love it.
Okay, I like women. A lot. I just don't want to be one. I'm not like you. I'm not... I'm just...
No, not you, you big dickhead. I'm talking about somebody else. Party though, hey, you and me, tomorrow night. To me, to you. See you later. You know that thing I said just now about spicy bum stuff? Tom told me that. So, enjoy your Mexican night out, yeah? See you later.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Wow, well, that's, look at all these emojis. Oh, I'm eating them all up. Oh, I love it. Oh, coming out my belly like an alien. I'll be honest with you. I chose that clip thinking, what a poignant, what a poignant and important episode that we can talk about the idea of gender. I didn't really remember how much it had to do with chilies and bumholes, and for that I apologise sincerely. It is a good example though of the rest of the series. It's not like that's the only dirty one. They're quite dirty. For that, I apologise. I hope that you got a bit of a kick out of it. What's really wonderful, what they've let me do with Comedy Central, and it's a big conversation that we had early on, was the idea of please don't turn the only transgender character that you've got on the entire network into either a hypersexualized villain or a suffering saint. And it's the same thing that happened to, I suppose, anyone in any minority. While we're on that subject, I don't know if I've already said it, but I'm going to say it again if I've not. It's really important. I think we might be using the word minority wrong, and I think it's important that we address this. When you're talking about transgender people, sure, there's probably about 9 or 10 of us knocking about. That's fine. There is a minority. When it's used in conjunction with, have I said this already? Give us a Marius if I've mentioned. That's good, right? Okay. It's something we can all carry forward into our lives. I heard it the other day. It's really important. When companies or indeed people use the word minority to describe gay people, lesbians, people of colour, religious people, it's a little bit belittling when you obviously remember that gay people and people of colour are an overwhelming majority on this planet. How belittling to still be using the word minority in conjunction with those people. So if that's something that could be carried forward, that's something I think is quite important. Again, transgender people, yeah, as I say, there's me and Caitlyn Jenner, right? So that's fine. We're definitely a minority. Comedy Central allowed us to not turn the only transgender person they've got on their screens into a cliche. They just, as I said to them in our mission statement, transgender people are just people. Some people are knobheads. Ergo, some transgender people are just knobheads. Please let me play the transgender knobhead. And they said, that's fine. That's what we thought you were going to do anyway. It's possibly a strong amount of typecasting. And for that, yeah, I will always be grateful. Marius, we don't need to play the other clip because I think it's coming up on time, but that's fine. I want to end on, well, what I'd like to do is end on something incredibly poignant. Now, that whether or not that remains to be seen. Comedy Central, that was nice. All women. And yes, now I'm in this wonderful company of incredible female writers. You've got people like Phoebe Waller-Bridge is knocking it out of the park, Fleabag, Michaela Cole, Chewing Gum. television has become the realm of the feminine, the female now. Lads, love you guys, love you lads, you're great. Just at the moment, you know, women are sort of across the finish line. And it's wonderful to think one day I could potentially aspire to be one of those. And it's something I hope for all of you, if that is your aspiration, to reach the head of your chosen career and to not be making apologies for it when you get there. It's very tragic, isn't it, when you see, say, a straight white man fail at something, because you think, you had all the opportunities in the world, mate. How did you balls this up? But it's different for ladies, of course, and any ethnic delineation other than pasty white, like myself. You know, those people have to work harder, God bless them. And it's all the more fantastical when they do it and when they get there. I reckon, are we now coming up on about an hour, Marius? Is that about right? Because you know me.
That's about right. But if you want any longer, have it.
I'd like to do an interpretive dance for the next 15 minutes, if that's all right, just to sort of sign off. No, what would be nice, though, is to hear from all these fantastic people that are very diligently sat there and listen to whatever has been coming out of this orifice. So, yeah, how about a little Q&A? Thank you very much for listening. Don't applaud. I mean, unless you want to. Yeah, well, I mean, that's up to you. No, you guys, you're the heroes. You're the heroes. Yeah, not really, but like, right. So yes, let's do a little Q&A. Thank you.
Yeah. So has anyone got any questions?
Don't say it like that. Pick it up. Pick it up.
There's so many questions in the chat, Jordan. I don't know if we're going to get through them all.
Okay. Well, Louis put himself forward, and that should be like, that's a brave thing to do, and I think we should honour him.
Sorry, real quick. It was actually on the subject of bravery. It's interesting because I of course don't know. I myself, I'm what you would technically term as a cisgendered white male, heterosexual. There's been a lot of times since lockdown where we've just been spending time acknowledging just the world we live in, the advantages given to people who look like me. And indeed like me. But then I think about the aspect of, you mentioned this thing about bravery earlier on. Do you find it patronizing if people call it brave, that you are just being your true self? Or do you find it that this should just be the norm?
That's a really, really great question. That's really conscientious. As a former straight white heterosexual man, thank you for your question. That's the thing is, and it's the same with people, whether or not they want to heap praise and praise you for being brave or beautiful, or in the other direction, if they, you know, they've referred to you as a man and are not particularly happy. I think, no, you know what, let's deal with the first one first. Why am I answering two questions at the same time? To answer your question, Louis, it's very sweet, ain't it? You've got to always take the what's being said with the intention of the person that said it. Doesn't matter how it's received at my end, they meant it in good faith. If it was not intended to be patronizing, then I let it slide. It's very rare in my experience that anyone is attempting to belittle me with something like that. I think patience is an incredible virtue, something I'm working on personally. Anyone who's to be able to turn the other cheek in those situations, in my book, is doing the right thing. People are trying to be nice to each other, and I really don't like condemning people. If they get like a pronoun wrong, like, they're doing their best, don't they? Like, so yeah, thank you for your question. I don't find it patronizing. I think it's just people trying to connect, and that's what we all want, isn't it? That's nice. That's a nice question. I enjoyed that. That was very hearty. I felt that in my tummy. Thank you.
And now I know more. Here we are.
God bless you. Look, so in real time, we've exchanged information. It's gone into you, it's gone into me, and we've shared a connection. And that's what this is all about. Laughter connects people on a very visceral level. I feel you in my tummy, Louis, and I want you to stay there. Yeah, it's been nice. Go on, Marius. What you got for me?
Have you got any advice in coming out?
Sorry, say that again. I interrupted you. I was being very silly.
Advice in coming out?
In coming out of the proverbial closet? Because at the moment, I mean, if we're talking literally, you're supposed to stay inside by all accounts. But if we're talking about coming out of the closet, I think personally, I'm going to be concise with this. The fear of coming out, the fear of what happened to me, and I think it happens to most people, you know when to come out. It's natural. The fear of staying inside forever, overtakes the fear of coming out. The fear that your life is never going to be fulfilling, the fear that you're never going to be happy, overtakes the fear of how scary it is. And it's a scary situation to be in, but that's sort of life finds a way, as it were. Your mind will tell you that it's much scarier to be trapped forever. Things start to get very claustrophobic, and when that happens, it's a natural thing to do is come out. There's a difference between coming out and coming out with fireworks and a big cake and celebrations. Like that's different. Don't be disappointed if nobody cares, right? That's a part of life. Some people just don't care. Some people, like, there's all the different Care Bears. Some people, there's nothing on their tummy. It's just a blank white fluff, right? And that's fine. It doesn't always have to be a big fanfare. I told you I'd answer that concisely, and I lied. And for that, I apologise.
No, it was great. Any other questions from the Heather?
It's gone right out of my head. Oh yeah. So were there any, like at the start of your career, I guess, any sort of other transgender artists out there that inspired you? Or did you just kind of look around and kind of go, actually, there's no one like me. I'm just going to sort of pave my own way? Or were there people who you looked up to and sort of went, oh, I actually want to be like them one day, sort of thing?
I think the latter is advice that anyone could take, is about, of course, be yourself regardless. It's no secret that I'm modelling probably my entire personality on a little fellow called Russell Brand. That weren't intentional. It's just to have an Essex accent and a city haircut. But I can't like deny that is what's happening in real time. Early on in my career, I loved big solo artists for that very reason. They were just who they were. Some people are so famous that they transcend gender. David Bowie, Michael Jackson. You refer to them as these things, these ethereal beings. I had massive aspirations, and I don't think that's such a bad thing. I think it's good, things only get dangerous when you start aspiring to be fictional characters, like, I wish I could be like Sherlock Holmes. It's from a book. Don't worry if you're not as smart as Sherlock Holmes. Early in my career, just those big artists. First time I only saw anyone that looked like me, I saw a drag queen eating a banana at a Pride, and it gave me a really funny feeling in my tummy, first off. And then after that, I thought, oh, that's okay, there's something happening here. I'm connecting on some level there. Gender is not necessarily as concrete as we all think it is. But until that moment, no, Michael Jackson was my what do you call it, cookie cutter archetype that I was going after. Thank you for your question. Here's 20 more minute answer to that question. Let me just continue. No, I'm done. I'm definitely done. Thank you.
Oh, what was the thing you were going to say about Tina Fey? At the start, you were sort of like, oh, Tina Fey, and then you're like, I'm going to come back to her, but then you never did.
Tina Fey.
If you can remember, that's fine.
Yeah, no, it's just Tina Fey. I mean, we all love a bit of Tina Fey. Tina Fey is quoted as being, Dan Harmon is one of my favourite writers and showrunners, creator of Community and Rick and Morty. And he says of Tina Fey, he's like, well, of course she's famous. Of course she's well known, because and it's something I did say, because she bloody has to be, because, she's competing with, there's maybe 6 people on the planet that do what Tina Fey does properly. Show running, which is kind of the highest rank you can achieve in the realm of television. You're doing every imaginable job, every skill you've ever learned in the arts is being employed at the same time. Tina Fey does that. And this, I don't know if there's a way to say this without it sounding like a knee-jerk patronizing thing, but she does that having birthed two or three children. While this is occurring, it's obviously not that it's difficult to, just the sheer physical trauma to do that and to outperform a lot of people that aren't birthing people out of their body at the same time, is an achievement that I don't think I'm ever going to reach, but I'm certainly happy to try and aspire to. Tina Fey, if you don't know, is the writer, creator of 30 Rock, among many other things. And she got a big start on Saturday Night Live, which is another program that has been taken over by women in recent years. And personally, I think for the better. We've got the old guys. I love you guys. I do love you guys. You're great. But man, I mean, who are we talking about? Talking about Tina Fey, Kristen Wiig. Man, just that's the end to my answer, was just a sort of a sound. Thank you, Heather. Tina Fey. Marius, you're muted, which
Yeah.
is fine. Yeah, there you are. You're back now.
Sorry, I was just going to ask if anyone had any other questions. I've got one more in the chat. That is, let me get it up. It's, have you got any advice for anyone seeking medical diversion in their gender? Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. This is an important subject. Yes, the way the framework is built, I would say for the slight higher cost, and it's not significant. I went private personally. I found my GP to be ever so slightly sort of uneducated in that realm. It's a very new phenomenon. It's not like we can blame them, but my GP had no idea what's going on. So I private. What I did, and it's some advice I give to everyone in this situation, is to walk in and don't let them tell you who you are. You are allowed to know who you are. You're allowed to be present and real and be who you are. I walked in and I said, "Hello, I'm a transgender lady and I'd like to begin a course of estrogen, please." And he was like, oh, I see. And you could just see in his eyes that, well, that saves about 8 weeks of conversation. I'm not going to have to figure out what's going on here. This person knows who they are. If there was a significant reason why they thought I shouldn't be pursuing that path, I'm sure they would have brought it up. I'm paying for a consultation either way. It's not like they were making any more money if they'd said no. So my advice is to know who you are. You're allowed to take the time. You are allowed to get things wrong and relearn, figure things out. That's really important. You don't have to decide right now, but if you have, then do it unashamedly. You walk in there and you ask for what you want, and yeah, the rest sort of does take care of itself. I am, of course, not qualified to tell you what to do if you are pursuing a course from female to male. That's not my realm of expertise. A lot of people think it's the exact opposite. I can assure you it's a very different process. Yeah, a lot of respect for transgender guys. Thing about transgender guys is that I remember Donald Trump for a long time was talking about how, well, I think it's been the case now that transgender people are no longer allowed in the US military. I think he might be missing a trick personally, because if you've ever seen a transgender man, they've got like military grade testosterone running through their veins. And whereas most cisgender men have one glaring weakness dangling between their legs, transgender men are like fucking action men. That's who I want fighting in a war for me. There's no, you can jump over things, nothing's gonna get shot off. Oh, I appreciate that's not what you asked me, but I thought it's important. Transgender guys, you've got my vote any day.
Yeah, go ahead, Lou.
I'm so sorry. I've got one more question actually, because it's like you are an artist. You know, you talked about it's not to do with our you know, in the acting industry per se, but then again, there you are doing a comedy sketch, which really made me belly laugh. But I just want to know what your perspective was on, and it's important to hear, I think, from a transgender person, on non-transgender people portraying transgendered people. For instance, I personally viewed it in the same way as Bryan Cranston in a film called The Upside, which is a remake of a film called Les Intouchables. It was a French film, and he did it with Kevin Hart, and he played a quadriplegic in it, and he got a lot of flack for it because they're saying, why do we not get a quadriplegic actor in there? There's so few opportunities out there for them. Now, on the one hand, I agree that this sounds like I'm not, by the way, comparing transgender people to quadriplegics. This is far be it for me to suggest. But I am saying that, you know, then it's not really, in my head, I thought at the time, well, then it's not acting so much as, you know, it's like, how did you prepare for the role of the quadriplegic? It's like, well, I am one, and so I did my job. In the same fact, like, what do you think? I think it's interesting to know what you think about seeing yourself represented by someone who's from your community. Do you think it's important that that's the case, or would you rather, or do you not mind that kind of thing? What's your perspective on it?
That's a fantastic question. Thank you. It's I'd say there's a general answer and then there's a case-to-case answer. The thing about, for example, Eddie Redmayne playing the Danish girl is that if I was up for the part of the Danish girl, which I won't, like I'm put out there now, nobody asked me, I'm a transgender woman, and of course the character starts the film as a man, and so Eddie Redmayne was probably best suited for the first half of the film, and then of course the conversation does get a little bit hazy, doesn't it, halfway through. On the flip side, Laverne Cox of Orange is the New Black played herself, and I think this is true. Someone correct me if not, unless she's got a magical twin out there. They in a flashback scene, she played herself before she transitioned, and all it took was a little bit of plastic prosthesis and a little bit of makeup, and you wouldn't have known the difference. There's an argument to be made for meritocracy, and that's what most people say is like, get the best actor for the job. The other side is that to sell a show, you need a well-known name, and not enough time has gone by for a significant amount of transgender actors or actresses to get a big enough name to sell a show. It's however you feel about it, the onus is on the television companies and the playwrights and the people putting on this stuff. It's up to them to make those leaps forward. I, of course, would like to see more transgender people in the role. That said, I'm just about at the stage in my career where those roles are being offered to me. So in a selfish way, I'd say the fewer the better. That's a lie. Well, that was a joke. Don't take any of that seriously. Of course, transgender people should be playing transgender roles if they're available. But thank you. That's a thoughtful question, which I shall take away and digest. And join me tomorrow night, where we'll ramble about that for an hour. I'd be interested to see what you lot think, although that might be a difficult thing to administrate. It'd be very reductive to just give a thumbs up or a thumbs down, wouldn't it? Yeah, I think that's something we all have to decide in our own minds. The TV industry is a very unusual thing, and I'm very blessed that I'll get to be in it, looking at all these ridiculous decisions that are being made. Hopefully one day I'll get to bring it down from the inside, you know, like a sort of insurgent idiot.
Anyone else? Anyone else? I think we've got time for one more.
I would like to ask a question.
Yeah,
no, no, I'm joking. Go on. Who had their hand raised? Let's do a raised hand moment.
I don't really know how to articulate the question, but basically, in your opinion, how do you think that theatre spaces? Well, you're not really in theatre, but like sort of artistic.
I'm a bit of panto, Heather. Don't belittle my panto experience. I was Oliver Twist when I was 8 years old. This wonderful morning. Please continue. What?
How theatre spaces can be sort of more inclusive of trans people in terms of like their, you know, terminology and how they kind of, what kind of things they put on, in your opinion? I don't really know.
No, sure. Yeah. Just ways that places can be more inclusive of gender non-conforming and transgender people. First of all, knowing the difference between those two things is quite important. The idea that gender is a spectrum is a very popular one. It's personally one that I subscribe to, of course, as I expect most people. But the thing about a spectrum is there is two ends to a spectrum. It's a circle, but there's a start and finish. I'm at one end of that spectrum. I'm a lady. I just started at one end and got to the other. There's a load of people scattered in the middle, these fantastical people in the middle, but they are very different things. Knowing your terminologies is therefore incredibly important. Patience is give and take, you know, like it's something that gender non-conforming people and transgender people can do as well, is to give these people a little bit of wiggle room to get stuff wrong, because I swear the people that go on to have a very blinkered sort of view of transgender people, the ones that aren't big fans, are the ones that have been aggressively corrected when they were just trying to communicate. Those people will never get them back. They're not floating voters anymore. They go right to the dark side. So we can be doing our part. Everyone else can, you know, just do your bloody best. Keep yourself abreast of LGBT news. No doubt you're all following the J.K. Rowling thing that's going on at the moment. Just a nice thing to sort of be aware of, whichever side you're on. If you don't know, according to J.K. Rowling, the author of Harry Potter, transgender women like myself should not technically be allowed to exist, which I personally think is a little bit rich, coming from the celebrated author of a series of books about wizards and goblins. But that's just my take on the situation. Yeah, stay up to date with the news, know the science, and yeah, don't be afraid to get stuff wrong. Maybe that's the most patronizing thing of all, is that you don't ask because you're afraid of getting something wrong. If we want things to change, we will help guide you through it. It's not our job to do that. Don't come and ask us what's in our, knickers willy-nilly. Terrible choice of phrase. Don't just come up and ask us. But if the conversation is open, if a safe space has been created, which theatre is, it's the safest space that I've heard of, to broach these conversations, because you're all getting to know each other on a subconscious level, then don't be afraid to ask people that are making themselves available to you. That was a record, I think, the longest answer anyone's ever given to a question that had a yes or no answer to it. Marius,
I think that's great.
and Heather, thank you very much for your, because I understand that, you know, we're all in this together, aren't we? You are both administrators on this show. Thank you very much for your diligence.
Here, and we've got we did have Miranda and James who are guiding us through it. Laura was guiding us through it, and we had Jemma in here earlier who was our mentor. So we had quite a few people. Yeah, we are the collective group sorting this out, you know, and
the superheroes. You are like the X-Men.
Yeah. But yeah, the event, so we've been sorting out this event, and we're really happy that you said yes and that you've been speaking to us for the last 90 minutes. It's been great.
90 minutes. I'm sorry, guys. I'm really sorry. You've all been wonderful. Thank you so much for your time, your lovely smiles, and for your diligent note-taking. I will be giving an exam at the end of this, so it's good that you wrote all that down. What is Jordan's opinion of herself? A, she's amazing. B, still amazing. Thank you very much. I've really enjoyed myself, and I hope to join you again soon. This is the last one, ain't it? Last Young Changemakers.
Yeah, so yeah, thanks so much, Jordan, for coming for this one. So in week 1, we had Paul Bradshaw for class. In week 2, we had David Gilbert for race. Week 3, we had Kelly Jones for sexuality. And week 4, we had our guest tonight, which was Jordan Gray, for gender, which was fantastic. If any of you know anyone who couldn't make it tonight and wants to see it, go onto our YouTube channel, Queen's Theatre Hornchurch, and they are the first 3 are uploaded there, and the 4th one this week's will be uploaded for you to refer back to if you want to in a couple of days. Yeah, thank you so much, guys. It's been great. Yeah, and thank you to James, Miranda, Laura, and Jemma for all your help during this on behalf of the Young Changemakers and behalf of Queen's Theatre. Thank you so much, guys.
I've just this moment remembered that the story I told about playing the piano with my Willie is going to be on YouTube now. That's only just hit me. That's actually happening. I will have to go to bed with that.
They'll skip through it to see where you said that story.
Don't tell anyone, guys. Just don't tell them about the thing. Don't tell them about that. Thank you very much. I love you. Good night.
See you later. Bye-bye.
And everyone's just...
That's it. We'll go back to normal lives.
Still there. Look at them. They don't want to go.